Hello again, everybody. I'm Larry Hamilton. Welcome to my YouTube painting channel. Thank you for watching. Today we're going to do an oil painting, and I will not be showing you my face today. I have had some surgery and I have a black eye and that sort of stuff going on my face, so I'm just going to show you the canvas we're going to work on. We're doing an oil painting of a beautiful waterfall in Estes Park, Colorado, called Calypso Cascade Falls, and we're going to paint it on a 14 by 11 canvas panel, and I'm going to use some both liquid black and liquid white on this painting, and so it's kind of divided almost in thirds. I kind of moved it over a little bit so it's not exactly 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. So I'm going to paint two black strips of liquid black on each side and liquid white in the middle, and so I want to show you the photographs and take you through what I did to get them cropped and turn a square painting into a portrait format painting. And so I'm going to go to my computer and I'll be right back. Hold on. Okay, I'm at my computer now, and here is the original photograph I took. My wife and I were hiking on this, I think it was called Wild Basin Trail in Estes Park, and came upon this stream that was kind of waterfall, combination of heavy water flowing out of this mountain, off the side of the mountain, and I took this photo. It turns out it's square. It's not meant for the type of aspect ratio I typically use, so I've actually cropped it slightly, and this will now fit my 14 by 11 canvas panel that we're going to paint on. And so it didn't change it too much, but it did crop a little bit off of each edge. And so now I have a good format to paint from. And I also did a grid for it, and as I typically do. Now this grid turns out to be 3 by 4 instead of my usual 5 by 4. So it fits nicely. Again, it kind of divides it into thirds, both vertically into thirds, and and horizontally into fourths. So that's the grid. And I also did a value map here. Kind of looks like an x-ray of some broken bones or something, but anyway, this is kind of going to use this and use you can see it has a lot of dark on both sides, left and right sides, and so I'm going to see if I can use that liquid black to help fill in some of that dark on both sides. And just to show you what I did with it earlier, I took this photo in 2014, and so I went back to our condo where we were staying, and I had my watercolor supplies with me, and I made a watercolor sketch of it. And so here's what the watercolor I did looks like. So I'm going to see if I can do something very similar to that with the oil painting that we're going to do today. So I'll go back now to my easel and we'll get started. We'll go through the paints and brushes and we'll get started on the painting this. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. So let me go down here to my palette and show you I have my liquid white and liquid black both on this little plate here. So I'll be using those to start off with. And I'll go around the palette now and rename the paints for you. And these are all Bob Ross paints except for one ultraviolet Grumbacher here. We have titanium white, phthalo blue, Prussian blue, midnight black, Van Dyke brown, dark sienna, alizarin crimson, sap green, cad yellow, yellow ochre, Indian yellow, and bright red. I have them on a piece of I guess it's a palette made by Steve Quiller, and it's called Gray Matters palette, and it's paper I just put over the top of my normal painting box here, and so when I get done I just fold this up and throw it away so I don't have to clean up any mess. So I kind of like that about it. The brushes, I have my standard set of broad brush brushes. I have a couple of 2-inch brushes. I have a 1-inch brush. I've got a couple of rounds here that I maybe use for some of the trees and bushes. I've got my a set of flats here. I'm sorry, fan brushes here. Number 5 and number 6, I believe it is. Number 3 and number 6, sorry. And then I have a small filbert here that I may or may not use for some of the trees, and I have a couple of script liners here, and I have my trusty palette knife. And I also have a little brush here that I've been using lately to do some soft fanning of the softening of the edges of some of the oil paintings. So I don't know if I'll use that. I don't know which ones of these I'll use. I know I'm going to use the big 2-inch brushes as we get started. So let me go back now to the easel. I'm going to zoom in a little bit and make sure I've got this thing lined up for you. And I'm going to move it over a little bit so I can overlay my palette on here. And I'm going to make sure that works. There's my palette. I'll make it smaller. There we go. Okay, so now I think I have myself set up. And so that's the technology part of it. So let's go and start putting on. I'm going to put on this liquid black first. I'm going to put it on the right hand side, and I have some masking tape here to kind of separate these sections so that I don't overpaint too much in the white area where I want it to be white. So I'll paint this down. We'll get this covered, and make sure I got it plenty on there. Oh, I got a little bit of white on my brush. I just noticed it turned gray on me. I don't know if you saw that or not, but since I got liquid white and liquid black both in this same plate here, I got some white on the back of my brush, and it just picked it up and did what I told it to do, pick up some white paint. Didn't mean to do that, but that's all right. This is not going to be totally black back there, but it's going to be fairly gray and in some areas. But I want this to be cover the canvas nicely, and but I don't want it to be too thick. I don't want it to be too heavy. I may come back and even wipe some of that off with a paper towel here in a second. Okay, so now I'm going to take off this first strip of tape and get rid of that. Then we'll get my other big 2-inch brush, and I get my white paint out here now, my liquid white. We're going to start down the middle of this, putting in liquid white. I'm going to leave a little border over here. Could have left that tape on, I guess, but I just wanted to make sure I had a reasonably straight edge going down there, and I just picked up some black. I'm not used to doing this with the two colors on the same plate, so I just screwed it up. Well, let's see if we can fix that. Okay, let's see here. I'll come back and take this out. It's going to turn it gray, but I'm going to take most of that out, much of that as I can. Probably should have done this before I started painting, not let you see my mess ups here. All right, back to the liquid white. I'll get this more liquid white on here. There we go. Okay. Never done this before, so this is kind of an experiment to see how it works. So at least it's going to have some good liquid white behind the center of this, and that's really one of this area here. Now I can just kind of start mixing this together because it's going to blend anyway. That's all the liquid white I'm going to put on, so I'll just kind of blur that edge together, and then I'll come back and get my other brush that I had my liquid black on after I take this tape off. I don't know if this is the best way to do this or not either, but I'm just kind of winging it right now. There we go. Come on, get rid of that. Okay, so let's go back and put a little more liquid black on this side now. Let's come down here and fill this all out. We'll run it over close, and then I'll come back and blur that edge together. I don't know if you've ever seen anybody do this. I don't know. I saw an old William Alexander's video the other day, and it wasn't him, but it had a guest painter, and she did this, and I thought that'd be a nice way to paint a waterfall or something that had a lot of light in the middle. Okay, so now we've got it, the canvas pretty well covered and ready to go. All right, so So that's all I wanted to do with the big brushes. Now I'm going to go back and start getting my smaller brush. It's pretty thin on there. At least I've tried to keep it thin. So that's our background. It's pretty well set, and it's pretty thin. And that's probably one of the biggest recommendations or cautions that painters that paint in this style say, is to make sure that this background doesn't have too much paint on it. Keep it very, very thin. So I think that's going to work, so we'll see. All right, so now I'm going to get my 1/2 inch or 1 inch brush here, and we're going to start the top and the back like we usually do. I'm going to get some white and a little bit of blue, and I'm going to just tap in just a little bit of sky back there. There's not much sky in this thing at all. But when I put this blue in, it's going to sort of fill in some of this area back in there. Okay, that's about all the blue I'm going to put in it. Phthalo blue I'm using. Phthalo blue has a little bit of green in it. So if I'm going to have a good bit of green in this painting, so that's what I want to use that for. All right. Now I'm going to start in getting some of my background. I'm going to start with these nice trees back there that are yellow and sun's really hitting on them. Pick up some white and cad yellow, and we'll just start putting in some of that in the background, maybe a little bit of green in there to start with. Green it up just a little bit. I don't know if you can see that or not, but I'm going to get plenty of paint on this brush, and come in here and just sort of picking up some of that black. And pulling it over. This is going to come down probably, that's probably far enough. Maybe that's too far. Okay, we're going to come back and put a little bit of sap green now in there. And touch some of these areas up like this. Really light, get some light feathery edges out here with the sap green, with the yellow underneath it. Okay, looks like that needs a little more. I have a monitor behind me here that I can look at and see how it's looking. If I can get 3 values in here, a very light value, medium value, and a dark value, I will be able to show you some depth. Okay, so that's just kind of tapping it in, letting it go wherever it wants to, having some things hang out over like that. I'm going to have some other trees over here on the other side. Now that I've got that in, I'm going to come back and pick up my sap green now, and sap green is a very, very transparent paint. When I put it over this black, you're not even going to be able to see it hardly. But I'm going to come down here and just put a lot of this sap green right here in all of this black. So it's mixing it together, and give myself a good underpainting here with this sap green. And it's probably very difficult for you to see that, but because it's transparent, it's going to show the black through, and that's really what I want to do here. I'm going to leave some room for rocks down here in the bottom. Okay, other side, I'm going to do this other black strip on the left the same way with, get some of this sap green in there and just really hit it and make it come out over here like this. And so I'm getting some nice effects here in the middle where the white is and where these kind of tend to touch each other a little bit up here. And then all the rest of this is just going to be filled in with sap green and whatever color's on the brush. Down here, let's put some more down here. Go down to about the 1/3 mark where I'm going to have some rocks and that sort of stuff. Okay, that's a pretty decent start for having this much stuff in there. Maybe I can make that just a little darker in some areas. A little darker. Okay. Liking the way that's looking so far. There is some, I'll come back, kind of clean this brush out a little bit, wipe out some of the green and get a little more of this yellow, and come right back on top of some of these areas here and see if I can put in some highlight areas in there like this. Clean that green out, go back and get some more cad yellow, and put in a few more highlight areas down there like that. There are a few things in here that are a little bit lighter, so that's good for that. The other side has quite a bit more of the yellow, lighter yellow, but even with some white in it. I'm going to pick that up, get some more cad yellow, maybe even a little of this Indian yellow to give myself a little bit different color, and come in here and start putting in a few of these lighter trees that come down this way. Just changing the color a little bit, adding a little bit of white, adding a little bit of Indian yellow with my cad yellow, and just trying to put in some of these trees that hang over like that. Get some more bright yellow here and see if I can connect these together a little better, like this. And I'll pull some of that dark out into here. Okay, so I'm getting something that looks like it's pretty dense and pretty dark back in there, which that liquid black is really helping that. It's just basically making that all work. Okay, so much for that. Let's hold off on that for a little bit, clean my brush out, and so yeah, glad you liked the watercolor. It was kind of a fun thing to do. It was one of those things that I just on the spur of the moment did that watercolor, and I didn't do it on one of my YouTube videos, so nobody even knew I painted that watercolor. All right, so now we're coming down. I think I'm going to put a few of these trees in, and I'm going to use I guess I'll use my filbert here. You know what, let's use the palette knife. What the heck. I'm going to take a little blue with my sienna, get sort of a darker, sort of a grayish like color. I don't know if you can see that. I'm mixing that up there. It has to be lighter than what's here or you're not going to see it. So I'm going to try to come in here and see if I can put in these this tree as it runs down this way like that. I picked up a lot of that green on my palette knife, so clean that off, come back and get some more, reload a little bit of the blue, a little bit of the blue and the dark sienna to put together. They kind of make a gray, and if you leave this color in there, leave it marbled like this, when you pick that up on your knife, you're going to get this nice marbled color, which you see on the canvas here. As it comes down like this, about right to there. So it's a little bit wider tree. It's not a small tree by any imagination. Pick up a few darker colors on this side over here, and just run it up there like that. and it's got a lot of gnarly stuff on it, darks and lights, and so I'm just kind of run this right off the top of the canvas up there. Okay, that's one tree. Let's see if we can stick in another one over here. Let's pick a little of this Van Dyke brown, a little bit of white, get a different color of gray, grayish color, and put another one right in here. Something like that. It kind of comes down about the same spot. Okay, maybe another one over here, a little one. There, just a few things that come down, then there's going to be rocks and stuff down here, but I wanted to get these kind of laid in so we have something in here that's looks like some trees back there. Maybe let's just put a few more things like that, and so it just gives you the impression that we've got more trees going on back in here than you might think. Okay, a few like that. All right, that's pretty close to the photograph. We don't have to duplicate the photograph exactly, but I like to make it look as representative as possible. I'll pick up a little bit of this white and see if I can put just a few white streaks in here that I see floating around on this tree. A few things are hitting it. That might be a little bit too light, but I'll just kind of help highlight the edge of that. So it looks like there is a tree there, back there that's got some light hitting it. All right, what about trees on the other side? Well, let's see what we can do there. Maybe a little bit of black and some Van Dyke. Get a little white in there, put a little blue in there to give it a grayish color tone. And I could make gray by making just white and black together, but I think you get a prettier gray color if you use blues and brown together. Put a little white in there. I'm not crazy about that particular color. Let's see if we can put a little more brown in there, get a little different color gray. Okay, let's see here. So over here we're going to have some trees coming down. I have some blue in this actually, and I want some more gray than that, so let's get a little more brown in there. And I want it on the other side of the knife, so I'm going to scrape the knife the other way, and I get the roll of paint on the back side, so that I come down this way I can put it on with the back side of the knife. Like that, a little bit of gray in here, a little bit of a, try this, see how this works. Like right in here, there's a tree that comes down. So I'm just putting in some, again, some vertical indicators of these trees that are all sitting out here. Okay, so we're getting that, that middle ground pretty well established. I'm going to come back now and take my my flat brush here and come back and put a few more greens over where I've put this put these branches so that they don't look like they're on top. You want these to be down inside, so let's put a few dark things over those and put a few light things over these, so we actually show the trees are embedded in the painting. They're not sitting on top. Over here I want to do something similar. I'm going to take a little bit of this green and yellow that I've got here and come back and put a few of these things in. That's not really bright enough, but I want them to sort of be on the on this side of the tree trunk, right? So there's some things coming down here. A few of them will overlap this big old tree back there, so it looks like it kind of goes up into the woods. Maybe a couple more things down here. All right. Put a few things around the bottom of these so they look like they're really part of the woods. Same thing on the other side, although I'm going to not have that at the same level. I'm going to have it about up here, something like this, and leave that for now. Let us try to put a couple of more tree trunk things in here, just to be on the outside of that. If you scrape in, sometimes you can get that. On canvas, it works better than it does on this hardboard, because you push on the hardboard and you don't get the same effect as you get on canvas, because the canvas will curve in and the knife will leave some paint there. On this hardboard, push in all you want, you're not getting any, not leaving any. There's no indentation. I gotta get this thing out of there. Part of my. Come on, there we go. One of my brush bristles. Say that fast, real 3 times. Okay, so that looks pretty good there. Now let's see. The waterfall really starts up in here, and it starts coming down, and it winds back and forth. It's got some rocks that overlap it, and so I'm going to try to get some of these rocks in the back. I'm going to make them a little bit bluer, maybe, and in the background, a little bit purplish, maybe. Back in here somewhere, I'm going to put a rock, something that comes down that doesn't have enough of a rock color for me. So I'll put this in there like this, run it down here. If I need to come back and restate some of that, I can do that with the grasses or the bushes over that. Put a little bit of a highlight on top of that thing so that it looks like it's a rock. Okay. Underneath it, you want it to be dark. So come in here and put some dark there. Another one maybe down this way. We had one actually, have one that crosses over. It's got a, I got something in my paint here that I don't like. There. I'll put this over like this, and back in here. It's going to actually have a, it has a, I guess it's a old downed tree that's kind of laying across this. Looks kind of funny. That's not really a tree, it's a rock with a tree kind of laying over it. So see if I can make that look a little better by putting in a darker edge on the bottom like this, and show that tree kind of laying like that. Put a little highlight on top of it. And see if that helps it stand out a little bit. Okay. So far I haven't done anything with the waterfall. I haven't put anything in there for water or anything. I hope I'm not doing it wrong. I may want to, I think I'm going to stop and put a little of that water in, just see how that works before I get too far gone here. I'm going to take a little fan brush, number 3, and I'm going to get some of this titanium white. I'm going to get a little ultraviolet. I'm going to get a little liquid white, because I want it to be thinner. This has to go on top, and I want it to be a little bit thinner, the paint underneath. So we're going to start back here in this area and just sort of put in a little bit of this getting some, well, that doesn't even show up on the camera from what I can see behind me. Can't even see what that is. Get some white and put on top of that, maybe. I'm going to get a little bit of this violet again. See if I can kind of give it some color and okay. Come underneath here and come down, give myself some things that look like we got some water rushing down. And I don't know if it's the light, the way the light's hitting that. Doesn't look like it's showing up at all. I think it's all getting washed out. I may have to put a little bit of my midnight black in there. With a little bit of liquid black maybe, just to kind of highlight what's going on back here. This is not showing up quite the way I wanted it to, so let's put a few ripples and dark contrast in here. See if this will help make this look like it's a water rushing down this crevasse, or this, not crevasse, it's a just a narrow spot where the water is able to run. See, I got these nice vertical sides on here, and I really don't like that. I did that on purpose to do the black and the white, liquid white, but it doesn't look great when you try to make a stream out of it, or a waterfall, or a set of falls that are coming down here. So I'm going to put some more things in here to break this vertical line up. And I'm using some gray with my midnight black, put a little dark spots in here, maybe put a few to make it look like it's a rock sitting there in the middle of this water that's flowing down and this way. Over here we've got some more areas. I don't want that to look, I don't want it to look like it did when I put the black and white, liquid white and liquid black on there. So I want to get some movement and a little bit more in here. Bring it back this way. Oops, picked up the green. That's the difficulty sometimes with painting wet on wet. You pick up the color that's on the canvas and didn't mean to. Okay, so I've got a couple of rocks there that this water is flowing around. And see if I can get a little bit more water coming over here. I don't know if this will work or not either. Let's put it like this, pull this down. Over here, we're going to I'm going to run some out here in the, out this way. And kind of define another rock back there. It's kind of sitting back inside of our dark area. So I'm trying to widen it out. It has to be a little wider at the bottom here and a little bit more have a little bit more zigzagginess, I guess I could say. Put more of this in here. Yeah, these are so the water running down here is not necessarily white. Matter of fact, that's where I was getting this ultraviolet in. There is some, the shadow color is sort of a violet. Well, I still don't think it's photographing that well, or it looks that well on the camera, but what I'm seeing here live and on here looks pretty decent. So I want this to come out. I've got some more stuff to put in here. Take this color, add a little bit of liquid white to it, and just sort of splash it in here, splash it around. Okay, so this is all quite an experiment using this two types of liquid white, liquid black to try to get the actual darks on there, which I think I was pretty successful with those. The rocks I'm not satisfied with yet, but I'm going to try to put a few more rocks in here, and I think I'm going to use my fan brush. Just keep going with this fan brush for now to see if I can, what I can do here in this area right here. I'm going to put a rock that kind of sticks out like this and comes back and has some dark sides to it back here. Sits way back in there, and these other trees kind of come down and hit it, kind of grow up behind it maybe, like this, and put a few more. I'm going to get my violet out with a little bit of white in it, and put another few things down here that look like we may have some water running back, or if I have a good distinct difference between this rock below and the one above it, you'll be able to tell those are different rocks, right? Put a little dark in here, put down like that. Okay. So that's just all fan brush work, using black and liquid black, or midnight black and liquid white, and a little bit of my brown here. Pick up a dark sienna, come over this way and do something similar here. I'll make that a rock that kind of just sits right out there in the middle of this stream. And these rocks tend to be rounded because water is running over them all the time. Most of the times you think rocks have to be angular and they have to be a lot of sharp edges, but rocks that are out in this area where water is running over their face for most of the year, they get beat down, they get beat up, they get rounded. So you kind of have to think about that if you're trying to paint something that's a little bit realistic. I'll put another rounded rock in here and kind of get away from the rectangular rocks. It's a big boulder laying there, what this is. And make a little darker on this side than on this side. We got some other rocks back in here that we can highlight, put, these things been getting beat up by water for a long time, so they're just rounded off. Some of them are squared off, and they're still haven't been beat up quite enough yet, but so that's kind of what I'm just trying to do here with these colors and different, put a little bit of shade on here to kind of highlight the top of this, like right there. If I can put just a little bit of a highlight on top, you'll be able to see I can get the right kind of blending here with a little bit of light on top like this, and then have it go to a slightly darker color like this. Where is it? Where's the color? There we go. Something like that. Blend to that, and then at the bottom make it darker yet with some black. So I'm trying to get my 3 values in here, right? So if I get these 3 values, it has to be darker than that. Something like this, yeah. So if I can blend these together in a way that seamlessly goes from really dark to middle tone to light tone, and I'll make it look rounded, hopefully. That's the idea. Over here on this guy, I want him to be dark on the bottom with some highlights. I'm going to put some really dark on there, and come back and put a little bit of a highlight on top of him. A little bit of a lighter color like right in here, like that. And I don't know, what do we got going on down here? We got some more browns and stuff going on here. Let's just throw in a couple of rocks down here to fill it out, because we got the water, it's kind of trying to run through all these areas and coming around and interfering with the water as it comes down. And so now I've broken that set of lines up that I didn't like. So let's just see how this comes together down here. Okay. Clean out my brush a little bit. See if we can put some more of this tone in here that kind of helps give us the some of the shadows in the water. I don't like the way that's looking right now, but I don't think you can even see it. At least it's not showing up on the monitor I'm looking at. Put a few things here to make it look like we got water kind of running over, like that. A bit of the white and some coming through here. If I can get this white coming this way, it's going to look like it's running over this big boulder like here. It's going to come down and trickle down into this area. Okay. It's going fairly fast here. I guess I'm getting pretty well done for the most part. I could do a lot more with this if I want to keep working on it. But I wanted to kind of spread out down here, which is what I'm trying to do now, so that we see we're having these areas where this water is just kind of running everywhere and it's going all over the place and it's taking off going down over this way. I'm only using this one fan brush for almost all of this. Since I've got this dark black underneath, it's giving me a lot of contrast over here, which is what I was trying for. And I don't know, I hope that's looking good to you out there, folks. I'm not sure it is, but at least it's looking decent up here where I'm working. So the idea is to just give yourself some blocks of rocks, and don't make them all square, don't make them all rectangular. Add some texture to them. Probably could come back even with my knife and put a few other highlights on, maybe. I don't know. See what this looks like here. Let's try. Put a few things on like that. In some of these areas where I've got these brown rocks, even this rock here could have a little bit of a curvature on it. Side, some of these have little highlights on top that could either just be highlighting the rock itself or actually being the water that's kind of splashing and running over. So I'm getting some decent try that there. Okay. Getting this hit and miss technique here where you just sort of let the palette knife just kind of slide over, and it gives you that broken look, which is really attractive to give a surface of a rock. Need a little bit of that over here. I guess I could use a little bit of that in this area here. That water is kind of coming down here. I'm going to try to highlight that just a little more, like that. Something like that. Guess that looks rounded, that big round rock. I don't know, maybe this, I could use this knife to put just a few more, I don't know, little places in here where the water is kind of hitting something dark and going over. Just break it up so that it's not completely all white back here. I don't feel like I really got that done properly back there. Darken it up so at least you can see the top of where the water is coming from back in here. And it's coming down, it's going over things. So I'm giving it just a little bit of texture back there. Call that texture, with these little ripples, kind of like you'd see in an ocean scene or something. And as they come down here, they do a little more defined. Okay, folks, I think I've just about finished this in less than an hour, and I may want to put just a few more of my bushes and some of that stuff in here. Pick a little bit of this Indian yellow and pick up some of this cad yellow and maybe some of my green. See if I can put a few more things in here to help kind of tie this together. Right now it's kind of not connected very well with some of the greenery around it. So see if we can connect that. See if I can throw maybe a couple more things in here to kind of tie this together. And in the right side, I've still got a dark section over here on the right that's needs a little bit of attention right in this area. I could put another rock in there. That's what's in the actual photograph. Let's see if I can flip in a rock real quick over here on this area, right in here. Yeah, I got another little rock in there. Not perfect, but it's pretty close. So maybe just a few more grasses over there on that right side, and I'll call it done. Like right in here, just a few. All those things are sprouting out that are still staying alive back in there. And possibly this is a little bit too bright up here, maybe. I don't know, put a few things to kind of tie this together. It's not quite as bright. I didn't really use any of my thin brush here, my script liner. think I'm going to put just a few things in there with it. Maybe get a little more thinner on that, get a real thin wash here. And add a few, maybe some extra trunks, or not trunks, but extra sort of branches that are sitting out there. See if I can get this, just a few here and there, around wherever I can get them in, to make them kind of fill this out, make it add to it instead of taking away. A couple over here maybe. You don't have to do this. You can, however you want to do it. It's your painting. You just do however you want. But I think this kind of finishes it off a little bit. Put a few more streaks in there. All right, I think I'm going to stop. I don't have a clue where I'm going to sign this right now, but I'll figure something out. Get this little bit of a gray here. Maybe I've got room. I didn't leave a good place to sign it, did I? That's supposed to be a, maybe I'll put it right here on this big old rock. See if that works. Come on, give me more paint. Has to be. Okay, maybe you can see that, maybe you can't. I hope it's been fun. I hope you enjoyed this. Hope you give it a try. There are, like I said earlier, there are images out on my website. There's links below this video, and you should be able to download those and use them as for your sketches or for your work. And try this liquid black if you don't have it. You can usually probably take midnight black and add some linseed oil to it, and you get something very similar to liquid black. It wouldn't be exactly what they sell for liquid black, but nevertheless, this is kind of a fun way to paint, and we're able to use both types of mediums for the waterfall and then for the sides. So anyway, if you like this, please share it with your friends, and if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe, and check out my Facebook page, my website, and get the photographs. And if you like the music in the beginning of this while we were waiting, Antonio Romo's the artist that lets me use his music on the front of my video, and I put a little bit on the back. So if you like that, check out AntonioRomo.com. He's got some beautiful romantic classical music, I think he calls it. Anyway, it's beautiful, and I hope you like this. Hope you give it a try, and until I see you again next time, this is Larry Hamilton saying so long for now. Bye-bye.